sort of, it's official, doesn't it? Okay. Now I can see the questions.
Oh, we're so used to those now.
What's that? Oh, yes.
Recording in progress, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, you cannot minimize. All right. Okay. I'll make it like this. So, what is your understanding around why Matariki, why he was formed?
So it was formed when I was still out of town. My understanding is that it was formed to bring the whole idea of Matariki to the community, and so that they could all celebrate it together.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if I remember right, which I may not, to really showcase for the kids as well any learning that they've been doing around Matariki.
What benefits do you see in this initiative of getting all the schools together to celebrate it collaboratively?
I think if we did it really, if it's done really well, I think there are benefits in terms of students actually being able to watch each other and what other schools are doing. Because realistically, a lot of them have friends from their sports teams or whatever in other schools.
Yeah.
So it allows them to see that. And I think in terms of collaboratively, if we do it well, it's another platform for the teachers to collaborate, and it could be used as an assistance, if you like, to localising the curriculum, I believe.
Yeah. Has it had any implications or challenges onto the college?
Yeah, I think so. The challenges that I see are we have a so much bigger role than the others,
right?
Locally, that the logistics of organising our students is a nightmare if we all try to participate. So it's kind of done an inclusive but exclusive thing, if that makes sense. And so to some extent, I think it's just become easier for even our 7s and 8s to go, you know what, we really do support this, but that's just too hard. Like trying to get 8 classes of 7s and 8s to participate, even in the HEQA, is just a nightmare.
That's huge.
So that's has become a challenge. And so I think it's led to many of the teachers just actually going, that's just too hard. The logistics of moving them, of having enough adults doesn't justify what it will take us away from. So that's been a huge challenge. The other challenge that many of us see is, for some weird reason, once they come out of year 8, they think all of these other things they don't have to be a part of.
Right.
So by years 9 and 10, it's kind of like, oh, we don't have to do that now, they do it.
Right.
It's like something that I don't know why or how yet. It's almost like something that the students themselves perceive as for the juniors.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's made it quite challenging. I do believe that there are benefits again, because I actually think it's part of that that transition thing from primary to secondary. Familiar things. So in the first term, there is all of that, you know, who are you, where have you come from, and that. But in term 2, I think it's another tool that still allows them something that transitions them from primary without it being, oh, you don't really need that anymore, you know, you're at the college now. It's a transition that would make sense to them. So I can see how that would be a benefit to our students. and if I'm honest, not all staff here buy into it. So a great majority of them, not a great majority, a great number of them do.
Yeah.
But there are also a great number of them who just see it as a waste of time.
Right.
And things that, well, I teach seniors, they don't really need to be involved in that. It's more important that they're doing this.
Right.
Which I guess that troubles me, but
I was going to say, what do you think about that?
Well, it troubles me, it just for many reasons.
Yeah.
But purely from the angle of many of these students will have operated within that community concert thing, within other groups, if you like, outside of school, around Matariki, however, whatever form that takes in different groups.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly like, you're a senior now, that part's not important.
Right.
And I just think it's short-sighted.
Yeah.
Quite short-sighted. And for some kids, it's an area where they can excel because they have that prior knowledge and they have that interest in the things and they know bits about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how yet, but I'm trying to figure out how even I can write it into Te Ao Māori standards, because it allows some of them to actually just shine, whereas if it was other things, they'd just be like, I've got no idea.
I think the new histories curriculum has got a huge part of Matariki in there.
Yeah.
So that could be angled.
And we could do it basically from Te Reo Māori, as you can with most languages.
Yes.
But I kind of think it needs more than that as well. So it needs this basically a whole term of Matariki, where we hit the language and we hit the tikanga and we hit the social impacts. So I guess tikanga, social studies, whatever we choose to call it, and therefore through the health perspective as well. So sounds really great, but I haven't yet figured out how to write that up. One day I will, probably the day I retire, then I'll throw it out the others and say, here you go. But,
was it initially for a term? Was the college doing it initially back? Because this is like it's in its 12th year now.
Yeah, it's not as far as I know. Okay. So that will actually start next term. We've got Alistair has actually said to the staff, actually you're going to engage one way or another.
Okay.
And so we have a waiata that I've just made my kids do a soundbite for what I call a relatively common Matariki waiata.
Yep.
But what's relatively common for primary schools and ECEs, and possibly those who've come up from the primary schools, would be that. But for a lot of our senior school from year 9 up, probably a lot of them wouldn't even have heard the waiata because they've never kind of really been there.
Right.
And so next term, we're trying to walk this in gently, but Alistair is absolutely adamant. He said, we have got a holiday for this thing called Matariki. So not only do the students need to know about this, the staff need to know about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hallelujah.
Yeah.
So through our WSLs and myself, we've got this waiata. I've sent them the words. They all have the words. I've sent them the soundbite from YouTube, but I've changed, I think, 4 lines to include the star 8 and star 9.
Okay.
And to kind of even those lines up, we put in the season that it comes in and the phase of the moon.
Yeah.
So, so they can get the tune off YouTube, but then a lot of them are like, oh, it's too hard, I can't get my tongue around them. I'm just like, oh. I know my team said to me, well, you can't stand at the front of the hall with 3 eyes heavenward. I'm like, oh, okay, did I do that?
Oh, so you're talking about you've thrown this to all the other staff here at the kura. Oh, okay.
And they are being told you somehow, somewhere, some way you need to find links. Yep. So Alistair has done that. We've got a what do you call it? A pilot group. The other thing we're trying to do is pilot a group to demonstrate to the teachers of the senior students that you can actually go across curricular and collaborate around matariki. So I guess it's just a little bit of a push, as in we can't really continue to be siloed in our areas of expertise. That the whole way that NCEA standards are beginning to change, New Zealand histories, Te Tiriti and all of that, actually if you collaborate and you use a theme, it would be really good for you. So we're the pilot group, so we've got math standard, a hospitality standard, a tikanga standard, an English literacy standard, and we can put a part of material Māori in there as well. So we've got 4 areas integrating, and it'll culminate in the students from the maths class actually laying a hāngi for that group. As I said, don't even try to make it a year level. These kids are new at it. They need that small focus group to lay a hāngi for, otherwise the logistics will put them out right before they even start. So, and I mean, in that, so for maths, they've got to determine what we need, do the costings, do the budget, submit it. The oral language thing is to do a speech, I think it's 3 minutes, a presentation about what's going on or what's been going on if they do it at the end. The maths is obviously in measurement and I think area, etc.
So does the pilot group, is that a group of students?
Yes, but driven by 4 teachers.
Right. And so they are trying to come up with a...
so we've got the standards. We've got it all there. We've nailed down when we will start teaching it in the classes, which we a week next year. And so we'll go off-site to the marae on, I can't remember which weeks we're going to go with that, in week 1. And then when we come back, we're going to spend a week working on whatever it was we'd spoken about, then off-site again in week 3. And then come back and do all of that pre-work. And then in week 5, might be 4, whatever, however it works. We go down to the marae and we actually do all the prep and we lay the hāngi. And so, I mean, obviously they get to eat the rewards of their endeavours, but also so that they carry through the whole thing. But we didn't want them to go in cold and just say, well, you're going to lay a hāngi today. We need you to do this, 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 and this. We needed them to walk through. So the hope is, and I'm pretty sure we will, because I know the teachers involved, is that we do it as a successful thing. And then next year, if they say, because Alistair said, do you think 1 term is enough for matariki? My honest answer is no. I said, at a minimum, you should be doing 2 terms. I said, but actually, you could do a whole year around that. There's so many aspects to it. And he said, okay, he said, so we're going to do this one, we're going to pilot it, because then the teachers all involved will then go, okay, start, we've got, we're going to feed back to you across the next 15 or 20 minutes how this looked, what that did, was it successful? And because many of them will be going, but what credits are my kids going to get? I think we worked out there's a possible 15 across the 15 credits, all under the one theme, all working with those kids. And so
the teacher is in charge of, say, the health. She's planning the health side. So and then you will collaborate, and then it's the same group of kids that are doing the whole. And
so the other thing that will happen is in school, and it's meant that we've gone, or I can sacrifice my non-contact for this. So leading up to it, there might be, say, the health teacher might go, okay, the group of kids that I've got have actually done that. So I'll move those to you, to the maths teacher, to make sure they've got the maths foundation. And the maths teacher might move hers to me, so that they've got that that tikanga Māori background, and then I'll move mine to the health teacher, and so that they get a grounding from all of us, and we'll just rotate them. Then at the marae, hopefully it's going to happen to pull that all together from that very Māori context, and have a bit more understanding of what we do with matariki, why we do what we do with matariki. So I'm forever hopeful that we're absolutely confident, mind you, we would be because we're the ones doing it. But us, the four of us in control of this, we're like, we got this. Yeah, we got this nailed. And I said to them, you have the advantage in that I now go home and tell this person, and this person, I need help with the hangi. I need you on this day, and this day, and they're like, works for us. But so it's kind of a pilot to try and provide that example for the rest of the staff, that using that theme that is now becoming more and more prevalent in New Zealand society, to the point where it's now a holiday, that using that theme, they can actually each of them deliver something in their subject area. So I think we're getting closer to, every little step is that much closer to trying to work things. And the other thing I believe is that if they can just open up a little bit to the fact that we're doing this, it'll make the things that are coming at them a little bit easier to gain a little bit of understanding for. So, the New Zealand Histories document, I know my team and I went through the draft one and just went, so many of our teachers are in so much trouble. Oh, no. And for us, will it be easy? No, but we've got a much better background in a lot of it. And so I just basically said to them, well, put your seatbelts on, because I can see us being called on a bit over the next probably 18 months as people go, oh my God, I don't even know what this is about. Like, oh, okay. So when we talked about it, we too said matariki was a good starting point. Even if they don't really know a lot about it, many of the students, even if they haven't performed, have been to the concert because I had to go because my little brother was in it and my little sister was in it. So it's a common point. That's also a common community point. So I think that community concert will hopefully help with that. That it's a centre point for us all and for all schools.
So the pilot study, is it like with a group of, say, how many students?
So we started off, we thought 23, but then when we added the health and the Te Ao Māori one, it's probably about 45. But that's between four of us. So, and that's without actually really removing them, except when we go to the marae, which is an afternoon every fortnight for a little bit. So it's not even encroaching on the others who are going to win because their students are out. And I kind of get that in some ways sometimes, but at the end of the day, again, is that idea that if you collaborate, actually they may not be out as such of so many classes, but rather dealing with 3 or 4 other subjects. So so
that sounds great. It's
important that we do probably get it right, but also make note of the things that just made it difficult for us. So but I think it's a step, and I think one of the biggest, one of our WSLs is Andrea Hill. So she is one of the loudest and longest promoters of the community concert. In terms of being seen in the community. B, finding that initial face with students that are going to be coming our way. And C, just with other colleagues at other schools. And because you always see the parents there as well as the teachers. So it's just such a good place to touch base and show your face.
Yeah.
And she's forever saying things like that to them. You should really try it. It's really great. Even if you don't have kids, you'd be surprised who you see and can go, oh, wow. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know they could do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the other thing that you'll see is, oh my gosh, that little girl looks just like so-and-so.
Yes.
And so the following
Making
week you go, have you got a younger sister at the such and such school? And there's just value in that.
Yeah. At the moment, though, I'll just get clarity from you. Is it the kapahaka only?
Yes.
And it's always been my own.
Yeah, since I've been here, those things. I think they did take actually the first year I was here, they took the 7s and 8s, and that was just such a logistic nightmare, just getting down there.
Yeah.
Herding them all back together and then getting them back to school.
Was that just to watch, or were they performing?
I think we were up on the hill.
Oh, the hikoi.
For the hikoi.
Yeah. Right.
But no, it's only ever been the kapahaka for the concert.
Yeah. And just the year, so the 7 8s have only done it once, the hikoi, and then they do the tapawai.
Yeah. Oh, and Tauke, when she had the bilingual unit, but that's now closed. But when she had the bilingual unit, she would take hers down and go on the hikoi.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's pretty much more and more, it seems to us, more and more every year it's been thrown to like the Māori department rather than going the other way. It gives us the feeling of, that's a Māori thing, so that's yours. We'll just do this, which
doesn't hold much value for it, does it?
No, it gives us, let's just say we have some interesting discussions when we have a team meeting around that issue.
Yeah. I guess good Alice is stepping up with a holiday. Well, this is what, this is what New Zealand is doing as a nation. We need to really fully understand it. Yeah. So what impact do you think it's Matariki Waihi has had, or just more the kapahaka really, isn't it, for your college students being involved? What sort of impact do you think it's had on them?
I think for the kapahaka, it has been a positive thing because it's allowed them to rehearse before going into any competition. And it's also, I guess, it's allowed them to have that stand in front of many people that they know who may not. So the last time we did stand in the festival, we went all the way to Manaia. So very few people were able to travel to support us. And then the following year it was at Tirohia. So we had a few more travel, but there are lots of people that they would love to come and see them. And so I know at the community concert, a lot of them do that. And for that as well, though, with the live stream, that's been huge for our kids. Yeah. Because you hear it all the time about, hey, I got a message from Auntie so-and-so, and she was saying, blah, 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 blah. Even to one of them is like, yeah, I had a message from my nanny and such, and she said, you were out of time. We were. But it's
right,
that,
but
it still allowed them to be interactive.
Yes.
And so they've enjoyed that.
Okay.
They also have really enjoyed, since the adults have decided to make a stand as well. And they just finally, and that was their words, finally our adults getting up there and do what they're always asking us to do.
Oh, great.
So, I'm just like, yes. I didn't stand for the adults last year. They've been on my case already this year. I'm like, yes, I've already told them where I'm going. They're like, yes. What do you mean, yes? Now we can see what you do. Yes, I'm going to go in the back. No. But I think it does give them a chance. In all seriousness, for our kapahaka, they have one or two issues, and I absolutely get it. I've mentioned it to others, but I don't know how to. I don't think I'll ever really stop it or prevent it. And that is that when we've done things where we've said, oh, look, we'll do a stand out on the quad such and such a time. Do you want to bring the year 9s, or do you want to bring the year 10s, or we do at lunchtime? And then they get really put off and really embarrassed when they watch other students laugh, point, make smart comments. And so for them, it feels safer, was the word that my granddaughter used.
Yeah.
Safer to do a stand at Matariki than it does to do a stand out here for our own kids.
Wow.
And that's always been a huge thing for them. I've spoken to teachers, and we kind of get things like, oh, you can't stop kids from laughing. And my point has always been, and now that there's 4 in our team, it's just louder.
Yeah.
This isn't a matter of just kids being teenagers. This is called respect and disrespect. And if we want to tout as one of our values, manaakitanga, we need them to understand that that is not acceptable. So they see Matariki as a safe place to make a stand, even when they know they've mucked up. Yeah. And they may be upset on the night, but then by the next day they're like, oh my God, did you see that? And it doesn't have the same effect as when something happens out here. So I think for them it's become a safe platform, but a platform where they can kind of get themselves into gear for the rest of the year. And I guess to use a very teacher word, to feel validated.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you here, down here. Has this made an impact on, we'll call them the kapa haka learners, with a sense of belonging and identity in your kura and the wider community?
So we've got, this probably sounds rude, but what I call the stock standard kids in our kapa haka. Yeah. So those are like my granddaughter and Amaru's sister and Tiafi's daughter and all of that. Yeah. And it's something that they've done for a long time, but we've also got ones who we always get a comment about is Maya Dodd. So she's blonde and fair, and she's always in the front line, and she's also tall. So she kind of stands out. Yes. But more and more, so this year she took Te Ao Māori with us as a course. So that's Tikanga Māori and Te Reo Māori as well as kapa haka. Wow. So more and more you see that drag of other kids, and actually just today the 2 boys that come in for history went, how do we get into Te Ao Māori? I said, you may have missed the boat because you've been getting asked for the last probably 4 weeks that if you really, really feel you need to change, you needed to go and see Miss How did you do that? Oh, but fire, I just had, I said, I'm happy to have you, but you need to go and resolve that with Miss How. And I said, and I get that from her perspective. So, they've had to put kids through timetables and teachers have got things set. So you may have missed out. And the thing that happens is they watch our kapa haka kids. Yep. And they go, I never get anything like that. That's not the same for us. And I'm like, but it can be. And so more of the students are beginning to see it as a cool place to be. I guess what they see a lot of the time is more whānau. And having the likes of Maya, Sam Bajiran, who annoys the living daylights out of a lot of them, but is absolutely faithful to it. Yeah. The more we have other students join us, we had another one, 2, what should be year 9 girls, 8s or 9s, never done it with us before and decided this year to join in. And it just, I think for our kids, it validates that. So actually, some people think this is pretty cool. It also, they're just kind of like, oh, you're just one of us now, so it goes like this. Yeah. And
Gives them a bit of mana.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's a huge part of it. It helps validate them, but what does annoy them is it's kind of like we don't have any contact from or with some teachers, and then suddenly someone has the idea that it'd be a good idea to get the kaiako group to do a couple of things. So it's like, oh, would the kaiako group come and do this and this? And the kids are like, what's that? So they call it dial a kaiako,
right,
when it suits them. And so we get caught in that dilemma of they are totally, utterly proud of what they do.
Yeah.
And they love it. And that's why they love matariki concepts. It validates what we do and who we are. And then they get caught in that thing of we do that. And so people think we can you do a waiata? And they're like, oh, really fine, we have to do it. And so it's with my senior kids, we've had the discussion about how do we address this? So if we don't do it, and somebody else does it and they do it incorrectly, where does the fault lie? Does that lie with us for not leading the way, or does that lie with them? And I've had some really interesting discussions with them around that.
Yeah.
But for them, that all comes back to, but you can't just choose to have us when it suits you.
Yeah.
Well, they should choose to have it because it's us, not because it suits you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I absolutely hear you, but I need to know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where they're at.
Yeah.
And so
would they be interested in being the teacher, the kaiako for the others, so that they can get more people to call on and it be the proper?
Yeah, we kind of kept that around. Most of the leaders in my kaiako group at the moment are year 11s. So I'm hoping that if I can kind of work on them this year, by 12 and 13, they might be willing to go that way.
Yeah.
But it is all about that. And like, we shouldn't have to feel like embarrassed because we do that. I said, you're absolutely correct. So now if they say, well, we don't really want to do that, and this is why, if they can give me the why, and it inevitably comes back to that. And it's just funny, we had that discussion the other day. So they wanted us to do a couple of items in the first week back at school. So they were going to have this back to school week.
Right.
They do all sorts. And they said, oh, the kaiako group do a couple of items. And the kids went, oh, no, actually, fine. I said, okay, tell me why. And they said, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, we've all been away from each other for 2.5 weeks. And so just on that day going, bang, we can do it. It's not fair. They said, be like expecting your rugby team to be the best when you haven't had training. I said, yeah, get that. And they said, the other thing is, they don't, when there's like, oh, this was interesting, was my granddaughter actually, she said, when there's like important people, it's not okay to have us then to do it. It's like seniors in their number ones, which is fine, who don't know the waiata, who don't know the tikanga, but that's okay. And yet, when they want this to happen or that to happen, we'll get the kaiako kids to do it. And I was like, wow. But and then the others all just jumped in and went, yeah, just like blah, blah, blah. And there was just this big raft of it. And it's, for me, it was really great that they'll open up, but at the same time, it's really sad that they feel that that's thing. And that's what they say to me. They said to me, the matariki thing is a chance for us to stand up. And the people that are there, and this was one of the rationale, the people who are there because they want to see what's happening and they do appreciate what we do. I was like, wow, that's actually a pretty good point. And so it is huge for them. They also, of course, because they're a bit older, so they look at what I call the logistics, and you're just like, oh my God, there's so many people in that hall. mustn't be safe. I said, well, that's why in the rooms we've said we'll live stream it.
Yeah.
So some people will opt to stay home. I said, because it's really cold at that time of the year. So there'll be those who will opt to stay home.
Yeah.
Or some of the groups will stay in the class they've been assigned and watch it on the TV. And I said, no, it's not the same. But I think part of that is the actual practicalities of having so many people.
Yeah.
See, but also what it does show is that the community actually enjoy this. It's a time where I think the community can see all of the town's kids together.
So do you think there's many community members that come in that haven't got their whānau yet?
I think there's more and more.
More and more as the years have gone by?
Yeah, I think there are more and more. And I say that only because I have seen, I want to say older people, that being rude, that I know don't have students anymore. One or two of them maybe with grandchildren. Yeah. But they're like, oh no, we just think it's lovely to come and watch this. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. So I think it's kind of, it already had like a following, so to speak. Yeah. But I think it's actually gained more and more possibly. Yeah. More and more of a following. It's kind of growing outside of just the parents, which I think is a good thing. This year, also specifically this year, I think after all of the isolations and that, it's just such a good positive reason for the community to gather and around our kids, because of our kids, of course, heaps of them were affected by that. So it's just a really lovely positive idea. Yeah. Do you think it's strengthened the relationships with iwi and or the local marae? Certainly with the local marae. Yeah. Iwi, not too sure about that, but that's based predominantly on the fact that the three main iwi of mana whenua are based in Pairo, so they tend to kind of deal with their own stuff over there for things like this rather than travel. But I do know that one or two of them do come this way, and the ones that do, because to my knowledge, they don't have a community matariki over there. With the people that I gather with, they're like, oh yeah, you guys can do it. We should be able to do it. And I went, on paper, especially because the centre marae of each of those three iwi are that way. So I said, you've got each other, you've got your own marae. Your kids all go to, in general, Pairo College or Te Aroha, I think some of them go to. So it should be done. And I've got to be honest and say that from their perspective, they don't know any one or two who will drive it. I said, I think we've had, there are one or two who've kind of been in there since the beginning driving this. So sometimes that's been a good thing, sometimes it's been not such a good thing, I think, depending on what your perspective is. Yeah. I said, but at all, no matter what happens, it still just seems to go. Yes. And it's everyone doing their part, isn't it? Yeah. I said, so I think there are a few people who have looked from the outside. I know one of my teaching colleagues from Te Aroha, she watched it live stream. She was just kind of like, oh my gosh. She said, man, we should do something like that. I said, well then, why don't you? I said, you guys have got a kaiako, use that as your vehicle. Yeah. I said, that's not what we used as a vehicle here first, as I understand it. It wasn't the kaiako that drove it. No, I said, before that, wasn't it? But I said, if you have a kaiako, that's the place to go. Find your ASL and or your lead principal and get them to drive it. Yeah, definitely. And she goes, wow. I said, you could even start maybe a little bit smaller by just going, can we just have like a concert with 2 items each? Yes. Yes. Rather than, everybody doing more. And she went, oh, I might have to work on that. And I said, because we started like that. Yeah, you did. And I said, it's not about whose school looks expert. It's about, look at our kids. Look at our kids. Isn't this awesome? Yeah, because we just talking about moderation 2 or 3 days ago, and she said, yeah, and I said the other thing is that it gives you something outside of, oh my God, all the assessment tasks. And so even if you're a primary school teacher, it's like, you know, Johnny's not advancing any reading levels or whatever.
Yeah.
It's something else outside of that, and a different way to celebrate the kids. Really.
Yeah. Celebrate their strengths. Eh?
Yeah. And so she's kind of like dabbling with the idea of how to do it. She said, hey, just I don't want to get caught leading. I said, that's why I'm saying to you, go to the kaiako.
Yeah.
You have kaiako, they have an ASL, at least one.
Yes.
And she said, yes. I said, and the lead principal, and just say to them, I just would like to put this proposal in because I've seen it operating on Waihi, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
it's quite well known throughout
North
Island.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And you know, that in itself, I think, speaks volumes. Yeah, we are well known. I know last year I live streamed to my sister in Christchurch.
Yeah.
And she's had 2 or 3 of her grandchildren in some big kapahaka groups. She's just like, wow. Said, no wonder your kids, by the time they come through the college, are doing well. She said, because she said all the schools were in there. I said, yes, they are. And I said, and the ECEs, and she's an ex-ECE teacher.
Yes.
She was cracked up. She said, oh my gosh, I've forgotten how gorgeous they are.
Yeah.
I said, oh, they are. And I said, and again, it is exactly everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. So
it's a whole community of learners, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly, I also believe that the kaiako one that's coming, I'll teach them to make me an ASL, that we actually need to be more involved and start to pick up some of the slack in there when it's hard for the teachers who are teaching to, you know, get it all together and what date are we doing this? Although I know everybody organises that, I just think the kaiako, if they want to, I know that there are 1 or 2 of them who would like to make the claim that these are our schools. Well, if you want them to be your schools, you need to be involved. And I'm not saying take over the running of it, but you need to be there and saying, hey, look, what can we do to support this? Hey, listen, is there this or is there that?
Yeah.
And I think, that's what I've forgotten, because I think for Alistair, bringing it up here and asking for the classrooms and all that with the teachers, in a way for him, it was a way for him to keep the college involved. Yeah. Outside of just the kapahaka group. Yeah. It was, he sees it as our contribution, I think. Yeah. Giving up your classrooms. Yeah. Yeah. Because most of the teachers are fine. I know that there's one every year goes, we're just like, just move all your stuff into your storage area. It's like, it's one night. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. I mean, we got like, there was feathers everywhere, and this and that. Yeah, there's a couple of rude comments that came out of that one about what you can do with feathers. But yeah. And it was just, and so it was actually quite nice that the teachers that are in these classrooms that are used, it's kind of like, we knew it was coming up. When is that? Yeah. And once Alistair says, and Matariku's blah, 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 blah. So for them, that's kind of normal now. Yes. That they make sure their classes are ready for the schools. Yeah. So that's small steps, getting the teachers on board. But we've been challenging them for, it's great that some of them have joined the adult group with Amaro, but we've been saying to them, we've got 40 plus staff. We should do it ourselves. And they're like, oh my God. We're like, but the whole point is we could get up and sing 2 waiata. Yep. We're not saying we want you all to have 2 poi and do extraordinary things. Yeah. We want all the guys to do our haka and be in time. We're just saying, wouldn't it be nice if the contribution from our staff could be, I said, then we can teach you the songs. And they're like,
what the kids get out of seeing all the stuff.
I know.
It validates it.
And they don't get that. They don't get that so much. Just like this. So this morning, apart from this, I had red stockings on as well, but I got too hot. So at lunchtime, I was like, oh my God, sorry, I just got to take these off. I'm dying here.
Yeah.
And then things like that. So there are those who will do that.
Yeah.
Because the kids think it's great. And those who are, you know, wear a bed. But Matariki, I see, is in the same sort of thing.
Yeah. So you do think there are still benefits in continuing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not sure if it'll continue in exactly the same format, but I think right now, I think it's actually not a half-day format.
Yeah. What there is anything you would change or add to the that was you with Matariki Waihi? Well, you mentioned about getting the adults up.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think, I don't know, I've been dabbling with this idea. I'm not sure if my kids will do it. So in our first year of lockdown, when we finally came out, we went and stood in front of the Memorial Hall and just did a performance there. And their thought process was, let's go and do something happy in the community. And so we just walked out from here. We let the schools know. So like Rachel brought a couple of our mates kids in to watch, and people just stopped and looked, and they were like really appreciative of something, watching the kids and that. So I wonder if, I don't know, it's just all, I wonder if, I wonder if there's an opportunity for leading up to the concert during term two, that might be, for instance, Waikino on this day is going to go there and do something, and then the following week it might be Waihi Beach, and then the following Waimapa or whatever. Just working up to it with that whole thing about, if you want to see the whole thing put together, come to the Matariki concert. And just putting it out there as well.
Yes, giving to the community.
And right now, they really need giving. They really need something that's not all doom and gloom, and the other thing that we had tried to do, but again, COVID dealt to that, was we wanted to go into the Hetherington House and the Waihi Hospital. And again, I think, you know, we could get, each school could rotate through that, even if they did their whole performance, because there'll be people in both the hospital and Hetherington House who can't come to the concert. So, you know, maybe as a just a bit of a taster for those who can't go.
Good idea. I think we did it at a school once. We just took one of the rupus down and did it. There wasn't much room inside, just the FYI, you want to have it outside, but they loved it.
They do, and it's just something different from them. We went to the hospital, see, that was 2 years ago, and we went to the end where they're all fully cognizant of the world, and they loved it. They were like, are you coming back? And we're like, well, we'll see how it goes. And not long after that, we locked down, actually. And then we went to the end where they're all hospitalised. And so it hadn't even occurred to me. I hadn't ginned all my kids up to, these people are going to look a little bit unwell. So when we walked in, there were probably about 3 or 4 of them who were just like, I went, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Oh my, I should have let them know. But they still did it, and it was interesting because there was one lady in a wheelchair, and she was kind of a little bit like this, and they turned around so she could see, and it was interesting that a couple of the girls went, oh, I just wanted to go and hug her fire, because she was trying to clap, but because of how she was, she couldn't. And she was trying to clap, and I went, you should have. They went, oh, we weren't sure if we were allowed. Oh yeah, that's fine. But so
it's great for the empathy skill.
So it overcame that initial shock. But I think things like that leading into Matariki is just, it's a good hey, come and see it. And for those who can't get to it,
Yeah.
it's a good look. We know you can't make it, so we thought we'd come and do this.
Come to you.
And that really is going to be our elderly, I think, more than anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And even you know, with the size of the hall and that, you know, some people are like probably are hearing in the community, oh no, it's chocker, you won't get in. Here's another way. Yeah.
So it's a pity because Matariki is in the time frame that it is, because it's a winter thing. Yeah. Because if it was a summer thing, you could do a whole outdoor concert and it would be brilliant. Yeah. To have that whole kind of outdoor concert thing. Wouldn't it? Well, that's, yes, it's the time of year, but I mean, who's to say? Why can't you just repeat that little part later on? Like if you're saying do 2 terms, you might do 2. And just work into it. 4. Yeah. Or term 1 and 2, couldn't you? Yeah. And I suspect that's where Alice is probably going to head next year. Because you're looking into your whole of who you are and your PPR and building up, and then going to the bigger picture of the community. And absolutely. And so I think a lot of them don't quite see it. Change. Yeah. Oh, so I've just got one more for you here. Just with the UC back to the with the marae health, definitely helps strengthen there. In what ways, or just some examples there, do you think it's helped strengthen? Is it the connections between people? Yeah, I think it's connections between people. And once that connections between the people kind of has begun to expand, I think it's my understanding that they initially started at the marae and then it just got to a point where the marae couldn't sustain that. The size, eh? Yeah, and I think for some people that was disappointing. And so it didn't lead to a fallout per se, but not necessarily the best of ideas, the way it was led. Yeah. So I think it's kind of helped heal that breach, so to speak. But also that, as I say, most of us are either teachers or involved in schools. Yeah. I think, there's just a little bit more understanding of the practicalities of things that happen and how we can do that. It's also given us, I think, an appreciation that at least, even though for some of our people not perfect, there's that beginning has been that beginning and is progressing in an attempt to really become a part of the things that we hold precious. And so I think for many of them now it's become it's an actor because they're doing this about Matariki. That's super cool. So it's they're standing back and looking now and going, wow, I wonder what, it's pretty cool. I wonder what else can we get to. So this year we're planning our own Matariki thing as well, thanks to Uncle Oceana. At the marae. Yeah. So I said there's a lot of things we need to do. We need to not go over the top of what of the viewing, because we're looking to try and do a viewing, but we go up to the pump house and actually view from up there and do a waihe one. And then go retire back to the waihe community marae for a light breakfast. And but the night before, we're hoping, we used to look at the logistics of it, we're hoping to have, we've decided we might call it a sing-along at Gilmore Lake. And so we've been given, I think, 8 braziers. And so we thought we could set those out and we could maybe take a few bits of seating, or just say to people, you want to bring a blanket. And just have a sing-along. So our idea of a sing-along, yes, there'll be a little bit of kōrero, but I said to my brother, right, a little bit of kōrero means like, 3 or 4 minutes, not 20. He goes, yeah, I get it. Who's your brother? Tim. It is Tim. I was thinking, because
I think it was Rachel, she said, you've got to try and have a kōrero with Tim. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. I said, but I don't know how I'll ever be able to get hold of him or track him down.
Well, he's on night shifts as well. So he's a permanent night shift worker.
Oh, okay.
So during the day is horrendous.
Right.
The best time for him is generally on a Monday, because he doesn't start till he leaves to go to work at 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon.
Okay.
But he hasn't worked Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
So Monday morning is generally a better time. Or for him, I know when we go and do karakia, we usually do it first thing Friday morning. So he's come from work and goes straight into karakia. So he hasn't had time to go crash.
Right.
So he does anything that he needs to do, and then he goes crash at home.
Yeah.
So and I know he's going away for Easter, but I have his phone number.
Mm-hmm. Would he mind me ringing?
Yeah.
Would it be okay even if it just had a kōrero?
Do you want me to kōrero to him first?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he'll be okay.
Yeah.
So we're thinking that if we get him to do a karakia down at Lake Gilmore, I said we only want like an hour and a half. We don't want people there all night freezing.
Yeah.
And so, we'll just talk to him. Like, I'm pretty sure Edwin will want to put some of his music kids in there. I said, some of the schools might have, so we don't want like full-on 20-minute things, but if you've got someone who would like to do a group thing, or maybe even a solo, if you've got a confident student. And are
you talking about bringing the schools in?
Well, yeah, but more individuals rather than school things.
Right.
Just approaching the schools if they've got any individuals.
Yeah.
Because for us, this is just about gathering people and alerting them to Matariki now that the holidays are beginning.
Yeah.
And getting our own AMTG, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
So we thought maybe an hour and a half that night, and then have the viewing the next morning.
Yep.
And then back to the marae for brekkie, just to start relatively small.
Yes. So
that we can work up to what are we working towards?
Yeah.
What's the eventuality?
Nice.
And that's where it could be interesting. It may be that somehow, somewhere in there's a way to connect the two. But right now, we're not quite sure what that looks like. So we're like, let's just make sure we know what we look like first.
Yes.
And then we'll work towards something else.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are really glad to be doing that.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm honest, some of them it gives that we're able to come from a very Māori angle then, have that kōrero, put that up here, come back to our marae for that breakfast and just do that kanohi te kanohi thing. And no slight on Rachel Rihanna or the rest of them, from a hauraki angle, as opposed to the other side. And so we were actually asked in committee, well, does that mean you don't want them to do? He said, no, not at all.
No.
It just means we'll do ours on a different day so we don't clash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. When people ask.
You wonder when you put the fencing up.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think though the thing for me too is that we can kind of begin that in Waihe. I think that could gather momentum as well. Like, Oceania were keen to be part of it. So I've spoken to Josh. I remember what his actual title is. I know he always comes to Karakia. Josh is I can't remember his title. Anyway,
I can't either now. I'm not.
Yeah, he's lovely anyway.
Yeah.
We had a Zoom meeting online, and half of it was him jiggling his daughter so Tiafi and I could see if we could make her smile. But they're keen to kind of be a part of that as well. And so his thing was just, what can we do to help? What is it that would be useful? He said, is it manpower? Is it food for the breakfast? Is it what? I said, Yeah, hard question because we haven't like nailed the details yet. But I will definitely get back to you.
Yeah.
And then we got a donation. I was contacted last week, and the lady who I didn't know from a bar aside just went, "Hi, are you too?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Oh, so I work for," I can't remember what it was. And she said, "So we've just recently gone and done Baba by Oceania. And we wanted to, in return, we wanted to make a donation. And so the Waihi community marae is, we understand that you're looking to do a matariki event this year." I went, "Oh, yes, we are actually." And she went, "Oh, well, then you're it." So
Wow.
that was deposited into our account. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
At the same time, I said to the committee, "You had it now, you got no choice, we were to carry this through." So in a way, for me, it was good, because a lot of them are going, "Oh yeah, we could do this. Oh yeah, we could do that." And then Eric and I are going, "It's going to be you and I again, eh?
Yeah.
You and I and Chaffee." She goes, "Yeah." But we know that Lisa and Tui were in Tarns, will always then jump in behind us because they're also in the committee.
Yeah.
So they'll often just go, "Right, well, what is it we're doing? All right, well, do you want me to do this? Or do you want me to do that?"
Yeah.
So
You got that.
yeah. But so that's what we're trying to do this year.
Oh, that sounds
and
fabulous.
yeah, as I say, eventually, how do we combine or somehow run alongside the schools? Because I think eventually there'll be a way to combine that. I'm just not sure what that looks like yet. I also think it would be good for the community to combine that. But eventually.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
No, it's really good. It's good to get an angle, because you've got two hats here a little bit. You've got the college hat plus your own, community marae there as well. So it's really good to get from both angles. So thank you. Oh, when was the start?
2002.
Wow.
So it was a project that the bilingual class I had at the South School, still then.
Yeah.
It was still the South School. And that was my first class.
Oh, wow.
And so they were students from year 0 to 6.
Yeah.
And that is, so I gave them one kōrero about pukewa from one of our kuia.
Yeah.
And this is their illustration of it, as far as they, well, as their doubling little minds got it. And when I left there in 2005, I offered it to the principal, which I think might have been Simon. Not sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was Simon. And he's like, "Oh no, you take it with you." I never really thought about it. So it travelled with me from 2005 right up until last year in my linen cupboard. I just had it folded up and in my linen cupboard. And then last year, when we were talking about in our team how to find angles into the local curriculum, I went, "Oh, I've got this cloth that we did with some artwork." Because Willie's in our team.
Yeah.
He goes, "You should bring it in." I said, "Okay." Anyway, I brought it in and I said, "Oh, hang on, we've got to hold it up." So I think Tiafi and I were standing over there and holding it up, and he just went, "Oh,
this looks really cool."
He said, where did you get that?" And so I told him, and he went, "Oh, yes, you cannot hide that." And I went, "Well, what do you want me to do with it?" And so he took it to his mate in Auckland, who's an art dealer. Yeah. And they hung it up, and he went, "Oh no, you got to frame that."
Yeah, totally.
And I said to Woody, "With what? You know what that's going to cost? It costs a fortune." And he goes, "Don't worry about fire, we got it sorted."
Oh, really?
And so he left it with his mate. Then we all locked down, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And then finally, at the beginning of this year, his mate said to him, "Hey, you coming to get this thing?" And I said, "I'm happy for it to hand, trust me, but And so Woody said, "Okay," borrowed a school van, and off he and Vicky went. I didn't even know. They decided to do a surprise for me.
Really?
And then they rang me up and said, "Oh, Fire, we need you to come and do this at the party." It was during the holidays. I went, oh, okay then. And they said, oh, we'll come and get you. I said, oh, all right. Come on, it's all right. And so, yeah, and that's what he did with it. So I was like, oh my gosh. About 2 weeks ago, we finally, because it's been covered up. And then about 2 weeks ago, we finally got around to doing a karakia and uncovering it.
Yes.
I invited the principals. They didn't like to kind of like get really, really, really big.
Yeah.
So I invited all the principals, and Angela was really funny. She sat over there looking, and she goes, you know, I mean, I know what you're going to say, and the answer is no.
No.
And she goes, I'm just saying that, you know, South School, Central. I mean, I know, isn't that great? I said, that's called whakapapa. So we whakapapa from you. Yeah. But the good thing is, I said, look, because Erica and
they were your peppy at the time.
and because Erica and Lisa are going, yes, you can. Kaparaina's in there, but just right. Just throw her out. And so, yeah, but cool. I said to Angela, and I was telling her about it before the karakia, and she went, oh, how big is it? I said, it's huge. And she goes, oh, yeah. So it takes up basically a whole window bay. She goes, oh, yeah. And so when we were coming out of your office, she goes, oh, and I went, no, it won't fit up here. Trust me, it won't. And she goes, are you sure? I said, no, it won't. I'm telling you. And so she sat over there, and I said, I can see you. You're going. And she just smiled and never said a word. But what he also had a good idea.